Starseed Conqueror, 10,000 times rewards, Frigate destroys stars. Episode 71, How did he assimilate the mechanical demon girl? Broken, I become the fifth evil god. What happened to the kidneys? Bai Hua, who was watching in disbelief, was shocked. Who is the emperor? Why did he suddenly lose control of his child? Isn't this not yet the level of a fourth-level civilization? What happened? Bai Gao couldn't understand what had just happened. Simply can't understand. This. Where to go, her? I don't know. In his view, it was a sudden disconnection between the newly educated child and him. Then it disappeared in an instant. This shocked and confused Bai Gao. As the saying goes on Earth, daughters are lovers of the previous life, and this, his daughter just grew up, was directly taken down. Is it considered to be given to cattle? Then who knows to go? What Bai Feng didn't know was that the newborn demon consciousness should never have been. It should never have been. You shouldn't learn the tactical humanoid girl from afar and imitate your own body to build like that. Qin Sheng had the aura of an emperor, and the first effect of the emperor's aura is, all human beings, humanoid creatures, subhuman beings, will sincerely feel the great admiration and reverence for the emperor from the bottom of their hearts. As long as it is a humanoid creature, it is included in this range. It doesn't matter if you're essentially a demon, or whatever, as long as your current body is humanoid, it will be affected by the first effect of the emperor's aura, and this newborn demonic consciousness is even more extraordinary. And it also has a unique and powerful spiritual energy. Through the spirit energy, the newborn demon consciousness directly saw Qin Sheng. Then she sank. So yeah, the buff of the emperor's aura is also a rule class, and the effect of the concept class is that the Bai Feng in the four-dimensional space here is ignorant. On the other hand, Qin Sheng was even more confused. Naturally, he found the black two-ponytailed girl who appeared out of thin air in the space of the universe, and her childlike face was very fierce. Battleships were also sent directly to be responsible for vigilance and interception. At the same time, all battleship weapons equipped with the fourth-level civilization weapon microscopic particle decomposition cannon are charged. Always on guard against the strange black double ponytail that suddenly appeared in space, the childlike and fierce girl. Your Majesty the Emperor, let me be under your command. Inside the flagship bridge, Qin Sheng heard this voice that contained spiritual energy and affection. Now Qin Sheng, the spiritual energy level is not low. The beliefs provided by the growing number of members of the Emperor Divine Sect were coupled with the beliefs of the Golden Sparrow Soul Clan, which was originally a psychic category. Qin Sheng's spiritual energy was getting stronger and stronger. It has now exceeded the level of level 6, and the level of spiritual energy, in fact, is not too detailed in the division of spiritual energy. There are only 9 levels, levels 1 to 9. This is not to say that the 9th level is the top level and cannot be promoted. In fact, many potential psychics in the universe were able to ascend to the 9th level of spiritual energy. But why isn't there a breakdown above level 9? Because the psychic strong people whose spiritual energy level is above the 9th level are basically all chaos believers and chaos demons. Because of the 4 evil gods of subspace evil gods, the more powerful the psychic, the closer it is to subspace chaos. Above the 9th level psychic, the risk of being contaminated by subspace chaos was too great. Basically, there is no one who cannot be polluted by subspace, fallen, and attached to the evil gods. The scientific and technological civilizations in the universe all regard the psychics and psychic civilization as fled beasts. After all, in their view, a psychic civilization is a potential chaos believer civilization, a potential chaos demon reserve. This is not wrong. Those civilizations in the universe with psionic talents, with the assistance of psychic energy, successfully promoted to a first-level civilization and have the ability to sail curvature. After coming into contact with other civilizations in the universe and learning the truth of the matter, usually, they will take the initiative to completely abandon the power of spiritual energy and study science and technology with one mind. Honestly, upgrade the civilization level by raising the level of technology. This also led to the fact that some of the high-level spiritual energy technology knowledge in the universe was basically in the hands of the chaos demon. Not many civilizations use psionic technology. This is a shortboard of scientific and technological civilization. Qin Sheng saw with his own eyes the consciousness of the newborn demon girl. It is in subspace. Subspace, all psychics above level 3, will appear in the subspace projection. Qin Sheng's subspace projection is a round of cold white sun. Emperor, and now, a shadow of a slender figure, in the subspace, approached the cold white sun. Looking at the nature of this shadow, like those shadowy and strange chaotic demons in the subspace, they all belong to the ranks of demons. In the eyes of those chaotic demon projections around them, who were terrified and shocked beyond measure, the demon maiden's projection approached the icy white sun. In their eyes, this newborn demonic consciousness is crazy. How dare you approach the Emperor's projection? All along, countless chaos demon projections have tried to approach, but without exception, after approaching, the deepest fear is felt, then screamed and fled. Now, even more shocking to them, something has happened. The projection of the demon maiden had managed to approach the icy white sun, and also a face of intoxication, obsession. but it didn't take long to get closer. Around the icy white sun, there were suddenly countless more chirping, canary projections that were fierce to her. It was a projection of Qin Sheng's Golden Sparrow Machine Soul clan. The cute canaries looked fierce at the moment, chirping fiercely at the projection of the demon maiden. It seemed to drive her away. The demon maiden felt extremely wronged. She didn't want to do anything. She just wanted to be close to the emperor. At this moment, the cold white sun emitted the consciousness of Wei-in. What's your name? The demon maiden was so excited that it was the emperor calling out to her. She quickly replied, I don't have a name. So, in that case, I'll give you a name? Qin Sheng sighed for a moment and said, good. The demon maiden's eyes lit up instantly, and she nodded her head in a hurry, and the black double ponytail trembled with excitement. Qin Sheng pondered for a moment, saw the demon maiden's black double ponytail. He said, you are called, how about the Night Frost? Thank you Emperor for giving me the name, I will be called Night Frost from now on. I have a name, Night Frost cheered, and in the real universe, the black-haired double ponytail girl in space changed in the instant she was given her name by Qin Sheng. A voice sounded in Qin Sheng's ears. Flesh and blood are weak, and machinery soars. Iron heart assimilation starts. You've successfully assimilated a subspace demon. However, due to the peculiarities of the subspace demons, you cannot build the subspace demon girl population. You can only assimilate it and take it under your command. I rub? Subspace demons? Qin Sheng was shocked. He didn't expect that the girl was actually a subspace demon. Looking at it again, the black two-ponytail girl's body floating in space was reorganized. The exterior doesn't seem to change much, but the internal structure has changed to a silicon-based creature/mechanical demon girl. Hey, Emperor. Hey, Night Frost floated in the space of the universe, pink arms around his chest, and his eyes were closed, and he didn't know what he was thinking. The name of the Emperor was chanted in his mouth, and his delicate and beautiful face still made a stupid smile from time to time. Without thinking about it, I knew that the evil subspace demon girl must be thinking about something evil in her mind. Hey, Emperor. Stickers. Through the subspace, Qin Sheng could hear the demonic girl Night Frost's foolish laughter. Qin Sheng couldn't bear it anymore and directly ordered it to be brought over. A great Qin Empire warship sprayed inefficiencies with inefficient flames on the tail and flew to the side of the black-haired double-ponytailed girl floating in the space of the universe. The hatch opens. Ella flew out with another tactical humanoid girl. The Emperor and you stickers, right? Delusional. His Majesty the Emperor can only stick to me. Bring me in. Ella couldn't stand it after hearing the other party thinking about something evil, and her silver teeth clenched, and she grabbed her directly without anger. The two tactical humanoid maidens grabbed the black-haired and double-ponytail demon maiden and threw them directly into the battleship, then returned to the battleship together. The hatch closed. The battleship's tail engine spewed incensed flames and spun around and returned to the fleet. It's like a space kidnapping. Under the watchful eyes of many tactical humanoid maidens, St. Heli's elite maiden warriors, etheric dragon maiden warriors, and many floating golden sparrow machine soul Lori Jingtai, Night Frost was grabbed by Ella and thrown in front of Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng raised an eyebrow slightly, looking at the mechanical demon girl in front of him. Wow. Your Majesty the Emperor evil god, I have finally seen you. As soon as Yi Shuang saw Qin Sheng, he shouted excitedly and wanted to pounce on Qin Sheng. Then Ella, whose face was full of black lines, directly grasped the slender white back of her neck with one hand and stopped her. I am your most loyal believer, your first chaos demon, Night Frost. Your Majesty the evil god. Night Frost looked at Qin Sheng, his face full of piety. And Qin Sheng was slightly stunned. Broken. He has become the fifth evil god of subspace, heaven and earth conscience. He is really just the Emperor. Don't defile your innocence. My Emperor is obviously a good man of generosity and benevolence. Referring to the plasma torrent washing the ground of a planet, fierce heart, directly shattering the stars without a word, slaughtering 120 billion alien civilizations. I've never done anything harmful. Referring to the black hand of the heart, directly shattering the stars, slaughtering 120 billion alien civilization population. Episode 72. Advance. System upgrade. 1000X bonus boost unlocked. Think of him as an emperor, who has always been kind, and is a pure and good person. Why, how did he inexplicably become the fifth evil god of subspace? At the moment, Qin Sheng immediately coughed twice and said to Yi Frost, there are some words, don't talk about them. It is okay to call me emperor, and your majesty can do it, but don't call me an evil god. I am the emperor, and I do not share the heavens with the evil gods of subspace. As a subspace demon, you are attached to me this time, which is considered to be a reform of evil. Night Frost nodded busily, his small chin lit urgently, and a pair of black eyes were bright and bright. I know, Night Frost knows. Where are you from? Qin Sheng asked again. Although he assimilated a subspace demon girl in a vague way, he still had to ask clearly. After all, in his opinion, Night Frost suddenly appeared out of thin air. Then he was subdued. Some things have to be asked. I was born not long ago. It was created by the split of the father before. Night Frost answered honestly. A pair of black eyes seemed to stick to Qin Sheng's body, staring at him unwilling to look away. Before the father? Who is it? Qin Sheng asked. I don't know. I just know that his name is Bai Gao. It is the chosen devil who serves the treacherous one. Night Frost replied in a daze. Qin Sheng inhaled a cold breath backwards. Boy, immediately looked in the direction of the Klein bottle space. Didn't expect it. What was trapped inside was the evil god, treacherous god, chosen demon. Fortunately, he was cautious enough that he had not been forced by Baizhu. The traitors and his followers are all sinister and cunning, and one by one they are conspiratorial and tricky. Basically, it is more able to calculate everything. You have no idea when he will calculate and eat you. There is a saying in the Milky Way, if there's something you think is conspiratorial, but you don't know who's behind it, just push the pot to the traitors and his followers. That's right. For a while, even Qin Sheng didn't dare to collect the Night Frost, because at this moment, he suspected that the Night Frost might also have been deliberately arranged for him by the treacherous god-chosen demon. But the link of iron heart assimilation cannot be faked. With the effect of the Emperor's aura, it was impossible for a divine chosen demon to use his own thought pollution to deceive Qin Sheng's perception. The link to iron heart assimilation is true, and at a glance, it can only be that Bai Gao, such a sinister and cunning person, wants to use Night Frost in Qin Sheng's hand. However, he was directly cut off by Qin Sheng's Emperor Guanghua and Tianxin assimilation skills and cracked. And Night Frost also completely changed his mind, becoming the shape of Qin Sheng, abandoning the dark and casting light. Next, regarding Qin Sheng's question, Night Frost naturally knew everything. After all, Night Frost originated from the treacherous god who chose the great demon Cypress. For some things about Bai Feng, Night Frost is very clear. At this moment, Qin Sheng knew many of Bai Gao's mysteries. Even if there is another three-dimensional real universe in less than 200 years, the four-dimensional space prison will be completely destroyed. This is the destruction of the rules. Even the treacherous god's choice of great demon Bai Gao could not be exempted, and it would be annihilated with the four-dimensional space prison, completely dead. 200 years from now? Qin Sheng pondered. 200 years, he couldn't wait. Now that he had Night Frost, he also knew Bai Feng's calculations. Qin Sheng now understood that Baizhu was more anxious than he was. As long as he breaks with stillness, sooner or later, Bai Feng will be impatient and take the initiative to find him. Qin Sheng was also not ready for a showdown with Bai. After all, Baizhu didn't know it now. Qin Sheng already knew what he really intended. In this way, Qin Sheng could in turn deceive Baizhu into choosing a great demon, which was exciting. After all, the treacherous god-chosen demon, who was known for his ability to deceive, lie, and plot, was deceived by him in turn. How can this not be proud? Thinking of this, Qin Sheng let Ji Feng take the initiative to contact Bai Feng. Four-dimensional space prison, countless overlapping projections, the terrifying one-eyed rotation everywhere. One-eyed red and impatient. Damn, how did you suddenly lose touch? Could it be that the Great Qin Empire discovered something? Absolutely shouldn't. The child I sent out is already a third-level civilization level, and it is reasonable to say that it is absolutely possible to crush such a first-level civilization as the Great Qin Empire. But why haven't we been in touch yet? If this plan is completely ineffective, it will be a miserable loss. After all, he split up and created a new chaos demon, which was very much to him. It was even more unfavorable to get out of trouble. And just when Bai Feng was very impatient in his heart, he received a summons. Father, I've succeeded. I have complete control over the leader of the Great Qin Empire. These two sentences made Baizhu ecstatic. It worked. If you succeed, you'll be fine. Although Bai Feng, who has always been cunning, also had doubts in his heart. However, out of his self-confidence, these doubts were finally put down by him. After all, the new chaos demon he had split off had reached the level of a third-level civilization. It was absolutely impossible for the Great Qin Empire, a first-level civilization, to deal with it. That's it. Quickly urge the Great Qin Empire to improve its own level of civilization. If you need any technology, just ask me. As long as you can quickly help the Great Qin Empire to rise to the level of fourth-level civilization, help me get out of trouble, then I fully support it. Bai Gao immediately responded. Great Qin Empire Fleet, Flagship Bridge. Night Frost took advantage of the fact that Ella and the others were not paying attention, and an arrow step was attached to Qin Sheng's arms, and a touch of satisfaction appeared on his delicate and beautiful face. Your Majesty, Baizhu has completely believed in me. What do you say you should ask Bai Feng for? Night Frost's move directly made Ella, Hetty, and other girls fry the pot. Ella exploded at once. You evil little watch smash. Stay away from His Majesty the Emperor. Although Night Frost had completely attached herself to Qin Sheng, after all, her previous identity was a subspace demon. Ella and the others have a deep prejudice against such a long-standing enemy as the subspace demon. Night Frost, watch out for the effects. The world is getting worse. Qin Sheng coughed dryly, pushed the Night Frost away slightly, looked at the Night Frost that was still eager, and said, don't want anything first, then I will contact Baizhu. Let's upgrade our basic technology level first, and then we will improve it and then ask for benefits. After all, the basic technology level of the Great Qin Empire was not high. At the level of the first level of the peak. Moreover, the hundredfold amplification system can only be upgraded after increasing its own civilization level. Unlock increases and thousandths increases for higher civilization levels. If you raise your own technology level and system level, so even if you get something good, then you can't increase it further, then it won't be a big loss? Qin Sheng contacted by Zhu. In order to deceive him, he portrayed himself in his words as a devout figure who had just been transformed into a treacherous chaos believer. Bai Gao was satisfied. Very good, since you are bent on improving the scientific and technological level of your civilization, I hope to be able to help me get out of trouble as soon as possible. Count on your heart. I'm satisfied. Bai Gao was really happy. Out of incomparable confidence in his own strength, he didn't even doubt Qin Sheng. After all, who is he? The treacherous god chooses the great demon. How could they be deceived by the Great Qin Empire, a first-level civilization? Impossible. Okay. A first-level civilization, what kind of work can a civilization do? Bai Gao was very relieved. He even took the initiative to give Qin Sheng the scientific and technological reward of the fourth-level civilization many times. In this regard, Qin Sheng was constantly pushing back. Just kidding, now his civilization level hasn't improved, and the system hasn't been upgraded yet. The thousand-fold amplification option has not yet been unlocked. The technology of the fourth-level civilization cannot be increased, and it is not a big loss. Qin Sheng said that he had finally dispelled Bai Feng's idea of rewarding him for the time being. For the next period of time, Qin Sheng ordered Angelia and Night Frost to preside over the high-energy particle collision test of the Ring Star Particle Collider. Night Frost is a mechanical demon maiden of the third-level civilization level. Its own computing power is also quite outstanding, not weaker than Avrilia. Moreover, Night Frost was originally a demon of the treacherous category. One of the characteristics of the treacherous demons is that they are knowledgeable. After the particle collider test was added by Night Frost, it went exceptionally smoothly, and the Ring Star Large Particle Collider progressed incredibly fast. Just half a month later, there were major discoveries. The scientific research progress of the Great Qin Empire successfully broke through the barrier called quark confinement. The quark is the smallest particle known to the geophysical community. Quark confinement is a physical phenomenon. Because of this phenomenon, quarks do not exist alone. Due to strong interaction forces, color-charged quarks are confined to other quarks. 2 or 3 quarks make up a particle. The force between the quarks increases with the increase of distance, so that the quarks that exist alone cannot be found. And now, the Great Qin Empire has successfully broken through the existence of the quark confinement. In the Ring Star Large Particle Collider, the hadron collision test is passed. Among the hadrons, the quarks with strong interaction forces are separated. That's what it marks. Qin Sheng's basic physics is one step closer, reaching the level of second-level civilization on this basis. The basic materials science of the Great Qin Empire will also be one step closer. When the trial was successful, Qin Sheng heard the system prompt for the first time. Ding dong, congratulations on your basic technology level to level 2. The civilization level of the Great Qin Empire has been promoted to the second level. The system's prompt had just sounded, and before it was finished, Qin Sheng heard the sound of the hundredfold amplification system. Directly overwhelmed the sound of the Star Sea game system. The 100x amplification system has evolved. Unlock higher level civilization technology boosts. 1000x bonus boost unlocked. 1000 times the reward increase. You can increase the technology, weapons, materials, etc. of the 5th level civilization below the 1000 times the increase. 1000 times increase reward system upgrade to dig 10,000 times increase unlock condition. Promote to level 3 civilization. Done. Qin Sheng rejoiced in his heart. Now he could finally increase the rewards of the 4th level civilization. And it's not a 100-fold increase, it's a 1,000-fold increase. Wait until he is promoted to a 3rd-level civilization. Be able to unlock 1,000,000 times more advanced and terrifying. At the same time, Qin Sheng also knew the conditions for promotion to the inner 3rd-level civilization. That is the discovery and ability to stably produce smaller particle precursors under the quark. To tell the truth, Qin Sheng already knew about the existence of his predecessor. Such subatomic particles are the tinier particles that make up the quarks. This particle, smaller than a quark, is the key to touching the strings of the stellar universe. Only the precursor can be made stably, and used to make it touch the gravitational pull of the star, thus opening the cosmic string channel for migration. Qin Sheng knew the existence of the former sun, and it was the jump engine that rewarded the previous system after a 100-fold increase. The Great Qin Empire has not been able to take the initiative to separate and create a former sun. because the basic technology level is too far behind. Only by using the system reward, the jump engine after a 100-fold increase, can let the jump engine dispatch itself to sort the precursors to touch the stellar cosmic string. Open the transition channel. Breaking through the phenomenon of quark confinement is the key to the entry of a first-level civilization into a second-level civilization. The key to the second-level civilization entering the third-level civilization is to separate the quarks and collide to find a smaller subatomic particle, the precursor, and the key to the third-level civilization entering the fourth-level civilization. Qin Sheng also knew, it is to further observe the microscopic universe, thus discovered, and able to use, faster than the speed of light. The tachalon is the slowest and fastest nihilistic particle that also exceeds the speed of light. There is another universe in the universe of particles that exceed the speed of light. This is the Lepidin universe. If you compare the universe to a one-dimensional straight line, the speed of light is the middle of this one-dimensional straight line. Qin Sheng and all the beings of the real universe were on the right side of the speed of light. The farther away from the speed of light is 2.6, the farther to the right, the slower the speed. The closer you get to the middle of this one-dimensional line, the faster you can apply, but the regular speed never exceeds the speed of light. You can only rely on the curvature engine to pull the space in which you are located, and the transition engine, through the stellar gravity to open the jump channel of this opportunistic method, to achieve the purpose of faster than the speed of light. However, this communication technology is always limited to the speed of light, and this one-dimensional straight line, with the speed of light as the central boundary, to the left, is the tachyon universe. On the left side of this one-dimensional straight line, the closer you get to the middle point of the speed of light, the slower the speed becomes. However, it is impossible to be below the speed of light. The further to the left, the faster the speed, up to infinity. The fast subcosm and the real universe correspond to the left and right of this one-dimensional straight line. The speed of light exists in the middle as a boundary point that separates the two. The most important way for a third-level civilization to advance to a fourth-level civilization is to observe the microscopic universe, discover the fast subuniverse. Therefore, the means of communication of the fourth-level civilization can achieve the effect of exceeding the speed of light. At the same time, it will also bring more technological upgrades, for example, the initial use of strong interaction technology, space gravitational technology, more advanced transition engine. Go make a real star battle star. And now, the great Qin Empire has successfully broken through the barrier of quark confinement. It is still far from the discovery of the tachalon universe of the fourth-level civilization. However, it is not far from the discovery of the former sun of the third-level civilization. Qin Sheng estimated that under the dual efforts of Night Frost and Anvilia, the large particle collider through the ring star was passed. True autonomous discovery of the existence of the former sun is not far away. And now, Qin Sheng set his sights on the space where there was a Klein bottle, and it was time to fiercely slash a wave of wool. Hey. Episode 73. 1,000 times increase. Terrifying neutron battle star. Bai Gao has been in a good mood lately. He was trapped in this four-dimensional space for more than 2 billion years. Just now, the great Qin Empire reported to him the news that it had been successfully promoted to a second-level civilization. This pleased him. The time of the outside world reality universe has only passed half a month. The great Qin Empire had already been promoted to a second-level civilization. At this rate, he would soon be able to get out of this goddamn four-dimensional space, instead of being buried in nothingness with this four-dimensional space. How could he be unhappy? At this time, Bai Feng received a message from the great Qin Empire. Bai Feng, who was in a very happy mood, immediately waved a big hand. To give. Give the technology. To the big ones. Enough is enough. At the moment, with a big wave of the hand, a technical information was given. It is the technology that can most intuitively increase combat effectiveness. Ding dong. Congratulations on obtaining the technical information of the fourth-level civilization and the Star Battlestar manufacturing. Level 4 civilization, Star Battlestar. The Battlestar is usually the most deterrent weapon of the fourth-level civilization on the battlefield. Once the Battlestar appeared, it marked the final white-hot stage of this cosmic war. Diameter, 6,000 kilometers. Ring Star Shield, Ring Star Space Warp Force Field Shield. Particle reinforced alloy armor thickness, 1,000 kilometers. Preliminary strong interaction alloy armor thickness, 1,000 millimeters. Loading weapons, 120 combined curvature engine missile silo X120000. Heavy-duty long-range Lesotron light spear X1200. Lightweight Lesotron proximity laser transmitter X781700. Microscopic particle decomposition turret X2400. Primary antimatter guided high-energy hydrogen bomb projector X500. Main gun, 10 km caliber Lightyear shotgun X3 equipped with factory, manufacturing and maintenance plants for various types of warships, 12,000 seats. 1,200 320 combined polymerization energy supply reactors. A source crystal core energy supply furnace. Conventional vector engine thrusters 12,000 seats. 100 times the speed of light curvature engine thruster 450 guns cover the range, 1 light-year. Before Qin Sheng could sigh at the strength of the Star Battlestar, suddenly the sound of the system rang out. 1,000 times increase. The Star Battlestar has been increased. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Level 4 Peak Civilization. Neutron Battlestar Manufacturing Technical Information. Neutron Battlestar, Level 4 Peak Civilization Technology. The Neutron Battlestar is an ultimate weapon developed when the 4th level civilization has reached its peak and has not yet truly entered the 5th level civilization. Once a neutron battlestar appears in a cosmic starry sky, it means the demise of this starry sky. Neutron star diameter inside the neutron battlestar, 10 km. Outer artificial strong interaction material shell armor thickness, 10 km equipped shield, sky curtain space distortion force field shield. Loading weapons, neutron pulse jamming generator X120240 combined high antimatter annihilation missile projector X500 Laplace heavy tackle-on light spear X500. Microscopic particle decomposition gravitational wave directional pulse cannon X1200 main gun. Directional neutrino pulse diffusion decomposition device. Loading system, tackle-on faster-than-light information tandem space position system. 12 source crystal core energy supply furnaces. There are 360 antimatter energy supply reactors. The Fast Sun Propulsion Series engine has 120 seats. Neutron Battlestar coverage radius, 120 light-years. The moment the Neutron Battlestar appears on the battlefield, it is equipped with a neutron pulse interference generator that can completely interfere with the faster-than-light engines of all enemy warships within a radius of 120 light-years. Conduct space jamming, to prevent the enemy from escaping through the jump engine. At the same time, our Neutron Battlestar is equipped with a Fast Sun faster-than-light information tandem space position system, which can connect all our fleet information together to form a high-latitude communication space that is not affected by the neutron pulse interference generator. The enemy fleet is unable to move forward, and our fleet is unimpeded. Main gun, directional neutrino pulse diffusion decomposition device, which can directly penetrate all obstacles within 120 light-years in the fixed point direction, ignores and penetrates the enemy space warp force field shield. Decompose it into subatomic particle states. Neutron Battlestar. Qin Sheng's eyes widened violently. He never expected that the 1,000-fold increase would actually give him such a terrible thing. Weapon strike coverage radius, 120 light-years. Qin Sheng was excited. With the Neutron Battlestar, he was still afraid of the Mao Chao's empire. Not only that, basically an ordinary 4th-level civilization, Qin Sheng was not afraid at all, and Qin Sheng did not have to worry about his inability to manufacture, because he still has a machine. Level 5 Civilization Microscopic Universe Particle 3-dimensional printer. Even the Great Qin Empire was completely unable to understand the technical information required for the Neutron Battlestar. That only needs to be fed into the 5-level Civilization Microcosmic Particle 3-dimensional printer. At that time, the 3-dimensional printer will automatically help Qin Sheng to build this Neutron Battlestar. And don't look at the total diameter of the Neutron Battlestar is only a mere 20 kilometers. Its terrifying combat capabilities. The deterrent ability is not comparable to that of an ordinary star battlestar with a diameter of 6,000 kilometers. Qin Sheng did not know the difference between the Laplace Heavy Fast Sun Light Spear equipped with the Neutron Battlestar and the Heavy Fast Sun Light Spear equipped by the ordinary Battlestar, but he knew the difference between the Advanced Van Antimatter Annihilation Bomb and the Primary Antimatter Guided Hydrogen Bomb. The former is a real antimatter bomb, while the latter is just a high-energy hydrogen bomb equipped with a little antimatter. And what really made Qin Sheng feel emotional, not a combat radius of 120 light-years of the Neutron Battlestar terror. Nor is it a directional neutrino pulse diffusion decomposition device for Neutron Battlestar. Nor is it a strong interaction material, shell armor, up to 10 kilometers thick. Rather, such a terrifying Neutron Battlestar is only the technology of the 4th-level peak civilization. This made Qin Sheng a little stunned. The gap between the 4th-level peak civilization and the 4th-level ordinary civilization was still so terrifying. How terrifying should that true 5th-level civilization be? After thinking about it for half a day, Qin Sheng couldn't think of it. You can only shift your gaze to the 3D printer. Start transferring relevant information to the 3D printer. Then start making Neutron Battlestar. Please look for a real neutron star as a basic material. If you can't find a neutron star nearby, then this machine recommends quickly accelerate the aging of a red giant star. Artificially create a neutron star. Please note that this machine is a conventional engineering machine and does not support this red star accelerated aging project. The screen above the microscopic cosmic particle 3-dimensional printer appeared with such words. Qin Sheng's slight jaw. He still honestly looked for a neutron star. Accelerate the aging of a red giant star and artificially create a neutron star. Qin Sheng couldn't do it. You can only honestly look for a neutron star. And neutron stars, easy to find. The neutron stars in the universe are all huge pulsars. Even tens of thousands of light-years apart, the neutrino pulses emitted by them can be easily detected, and the Milky Way, according to observations. There are about 2,000 neutron stars. This number, to say more, is actually not much, because there are at least 100 billion stars in the Milky Way. In comparison, the number of neutron stars is incomparably rare. The pulse fluctuations emitted by the neutron star are too large. Even at the level of technology in the age of the Earth, it can be accurately observed. Not to mention that Qin Sheng had now entered the observation ability of the second-level civilization level. According to observations, there were about 16 neutron stars relatively close to Qin Sheng. The most recent one is 6,300 light-years away. The rest, on the other hand, are basically 10,000 light-years away. More coincidental, the neutron star, 6,300 light-years away, happened to be within the territory of the Athos Empire. The Athos Empire, the radius of the territory was about 2,600 light-years. It has 865 colonies of living planets. The population of the entire Athos Empire was about 16 trillion or so. The neutron star that Qin Sheng was going to was located in the territory of the Athos Empire. The planetary system where the neutron star is located does not have a colonized planet of the Athos Empire, because of the huge pulse radiation. Because of this, neutron stars do not have the conditions to directly jump past. You have to jump to the planetary system where the nearby star is located, but, because of this, here's the problem. The 4 closest planetary systems to the planetary system where this neutron star is located: 19 light-years, 36 light-years, 121 light-years, 137 light-years, and these 4 planetary systems all have colonies and garrison fleets of the Athos Empire. After the last incident of being blown up by Qin Sheng was sure that the Athos Empire must have strengthened the defenses of each planetary system. That is to say, Qin Sheng wanted to go near that neutron star. It must be swaggering, and the whole fleet must be moved to the face of the Athos Imperial Garrison Fleet, then through the curvature engine, rush to the vicinity of the neutron star. This is undoubtedly a face-jumping mockery of the Athos Empire. Qin Sheng first asked a question about the three-dimensional printer. How long does it take to find a neutron star and fully build it into a neutron battle star? Moments later, a line of font appeared above the three-dimensional printer, giving the answer. It will take about a year. A year's time. Qin Sheng thought about it slightly. Episode 74. Laplace, Heavy Fast Sun, Light Spear. Brand new battleship. If this time you jump directly beyond a star with a garrison fleet in the territory of the Athos Empire, through the jump engine, I'm afraid I can't hide their eyes. After the tragic experience of the last bombed planet, the people of the Athos Empire would certainly not be so careless. Of course, this was all Qin Sheng's conjecture. If the people of the Athos Empire were still so careless after being experienced by Qin Sheng's bombing of the planet, the people of Neaetus's empire are also not mixed in this universe. However, before leaving, Qin Sheng still had to prepare. If Baoqi did not go out, he would have to fight with the Athostic Empire. First of all, you have to upgrade your fleet in all directions. After being promoted to the second-level civilization, Song Sheng's hard power did not improve much. Because Qin Sheng himself possessed a lot of weapon technology that far exceeded that of the second-level civilization. The basic technology of the second-level civilization and the basic technology of the first-level civilization are not particularly different, to tell the truth. Now, it is not enough to rely on these to go to war with a fourth-level civilization. After Qin Sheng increased a technical reward data by 1,000 times, he would not lose the original data. It's just that compared to the technology, after 1,000 times the increase, the original technology is too pulled, so Qin Sheng didn't use it. And now, the weapon technology above the Star Battle Star is also the technology of the fourth-level civilization. It was also worth Qin Sheng's recreation and use. Qin Sheng directly split the weapon technology on the drawings and technical data of the ordinary Star Battle Star. After the split, Qin Sheng obtained the weapon technology above the Star Battle Star. Heavy range Takiro's light spear weapon technical information. Technical information on the weapon of the light lesotron proximity laser launcher. Microscopic particle decomposition of fort weapons technical data. Primary antimatter guided high-energy hydrogen bomb projectile weapon technical data. And neutron battle star. Because most of the technology loaded on it itself needs to rely on the existence of internal neutron stars to be able to use. Therefore, even if Qin Sheng split it down and built it using a three-dimensional printer, he could not use it. For example, neutron pulse interference generator. There is also the main cannon of the neutron battle star, the directional neutrino pulse diffusion decomposition device. The most important space jamming system, the tackle-on faster-than-light information tandem space position system. These are all neutrino pulses that require the neutron battlestar itself to be able to use. Even if Qin Sheng was built, he couldn't use it. However, Qin Sheng still split off the neutron battlestar and copied the technology he could use. Shield technical information. Tianmu Space Distortion Force Field Shield Weapon Technical Information, Laplace Heavy Tackle-on Light Spear High Energy Antimatter Annihilation Missile Technical Data. These copied and split from the technical data of the neutron battlestar weapon could be used as the most powerful main weapon of Qin Sheng's fleet. The split from the ordinary planet battlestar can be used as a conventional weapon. Both are useful. However, first of all, Qin Sheng had to satisfy his curiosity. See how the 1000-fold enhanced Sky Curtain Space Warp Force Field Shield and the Laplace Heavy Fast Shot Light Spear differ from the regular version. Sky Curtain Space Warp Force Field Shield. The strength of this shield is usually used as a defensive force field for the entire planet, and its strength can be easily isolated, blocking the gravitational pull emitted by the neutron star itself. It can be perfectly protected from any microscopic particles that want to cross the decomposition gravitational waves and various laser, live ammunition weapons. Its strength is at least 1,000 times that of an ordinary space warp force field shield. Laplace Heavy Fast Gun Light Spear. We can think of the present state of the universe as its past effect and its future cause. If there is such a wise man, he knows the exact position and momentum of each atom in the entire universe. Then he can calculate the ultimate future that the entire universe will move towards by calculating the movement of all atoms in the universe. This is Laplace Demon. But the Laplace Heavy Tackle-on Light Spear. The above description is just a metaphor. This tachyon light spear has different characteristics from the ordinary tackle-on light spear. After being launched, cosmic tachyon particles in the direction of the target can be quickly connected to achieve an attack speed of more than 1,000 times the speed of light. This speed is far beyond the conventional fast light spear, and the power is thousands of times more powerful than the regular fast light spear. Tough. Very tough. Quasi-Light Spear God Sect is the first in the world. In particular, the Laplace Heavy Fast Gun Light Spear has an attack speed of 1,000 times the speed of light. After Qin Sheng obtained the relevant technology, he immediately used the microscopic cosmic particle three-dimensional printer to build. No way. In terms of the basic science and technology of Qin Sheng, even if he obtained the technical information of these weapons, he would not be able to build them independently. It must rely on the fifth-level civilization creation, the microscopic cosmic particle three-dimensional printer, to build. You have to design a whole new model of battleship. Existing warships, even if they are still usable, must be overhauled. Anvilia, Night Frost. Qin Sheng summoned these two best scientific research main forces under his command. In the Great Qin Empire, there were many technical humanoids with scientific research capabilities. However, only two people, Anvilia and Night Frost, have very strong scientific research ability, and Anvilia's computing ability is quantum excellence. It's been a long time since I've improved. Qin Sheng had always been very distressed because he didn't know how to improve Anvilia's computing power. Now Qin Sheng understood a little. In order to promote computing power to the Turing level, it must have strong intelligent technology. However, strong intelligent technology is the key to the promotion of the fourth-level peak civilization to the fifth-level civilization technology. Now Qin Sheng couldn't have it. If you look for Bai Feng, then I am afraid that Bai Gao is not willing to give it all. Because the strong intelligence technology is too strong, how can Bai Zhu, such a cunning and treacherous god, choose the great demon, easily give it to him? In addition, Bai Feng was actually very jealous of the Night Frost in his heart. He was also afraid that after he gave out the strong intelligent technology, he would be able to let Night Frost break through the former sun prohibition he had set, thus advancing to level 4, or reaching the level of level 5. With strong intelligence technology, none of this is a thing. Speaking of the former sun prohibition set by Bai Feng for Night Frost, in fact, this prohibition has long been automatically broken when Night Frost transformed into a mechanical demon girl. Now the Empire needs a brand new warship. Can you do it? Qin Sheng looked at the two girls with very different temperaments and sent them the relevant technical information. Avrila was cold on the surface, did not smile, and after receiving the technology, she probed a little, and then said, "I will do my best, Your Majesty the Emperor." She speaks conservatively, but Night Frost was very brazen. "Rest assured, Your Majesty, these are not a big deal for me." "But Your Majesty, tonight Stop. Stop, the most important thing now is to study new battleships." Qin Sheng immediately stopped Night Frost, and if she didn't stop it, I was afraid she would say something that could not pass the trial. After being reprimanded by Qin Sheng, Night Frost reluctantly was dragged away by Anwei neck collar. Developing new warships and overhauling existing ones can take time. Then Qin Sheng found that it was enough to study the new battleship, as if it was enough for Avilia to lead the technical team alone. There is no need to add another night cream. After discovering this, Qin Sheng transferred the Night Frost away and transferred it to the Ring Star Particle Accelerator Laboratory. continue to conduct basic physics research. It is hoped that the existence of particles under the quark proto-sun can be discovered as soon as possible. Now, it is about to enter a period of stable research and development time. Qin Sheng was bored and opened the Galaxy Player Chat public screen system. A small group of players were found discussing that he had been promoted to the second level of civilization. However, the strength of the Great Qin Empire is the strength that all players know, so it has not surprised too many people. On the contrary, it is another major event among players recently, which has aroused widespread attention and discussion among players. There is also the matter of the Emperor God sect. That's at the other end of the galaxy. The Kyushu Assembly Federation, the Divine State United Empire, the Rising Sun Empire, a branch of the Imperial Divine Sect, and other civilized forces formed by the players formed an alliance. They are at war with a second-level civilization force called the Pullman Interstellar Federation. Looking at the extent to which the players talked about it, Qin Sheng knew the fighting was extremely intense. Although the players are numerous, the gap between the first-level civilization and the second-level civilization has not reached the point of being crushed. However, because the battlefield is somewhat distant, most players cannot catch up. Relying only on part of the player's power in the war zone, it is very difficult to fight. This has led to an unusually fierce and white-hot battlefield situation. At present, players have lost more than 60,000 warships in total. There are hundreds of player commanders who have fallen. As for the fallen soldiers under each player's command, there are even more than millions of people killed. And the Pullman Interstellar Federation side also suffered losses. But in the end, it is still the players who have suffered a big loss. The Emperor has appeared. Emperor Gangster. As soon as Qin Sheng appeared on the galactic public screen, he was warmly welcomed by the players. Brother Emperor, the situation on our side is rather anxious now, and the battlefield area is too far away from us. We only have some sub-leagues in that area, being beaten by those aliens. I wonder if you can support us. Several leading players of the Kyushu Assembly Federation immediately found Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng thought about it a little. Everyone is human. If you just stand by and watch, you can't say it. It's just a second-level civilization. The predecessor of the Kyushu Assembly Federation, the Kyushu Federation, which is the second largest power list of galactic players, is now ranked third, because the second force is the Emperor God sect. The predecessor was the Bactrian League, the Alliance of Jinhua and the Alliance of Yanhuang. You don't need to send warships to support us in battle. Just need you to send some warships equipped with migration engines to open the migration channel. It would be good to lead our main fleet across thousands of light years. One of the reasons players are at a disadvantage on the battlefield is because most players are too far away from the battlefield, and only the native players in that area are fighting. They were not numerous and fought very hard, and their request was not a matter for Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng asked them for the coordinates. Send some tactical humanoids, a few Hanwha-class universal cruisers, to help them open the transition channel. Lead the player's main fleet to the main battlefield. About 15 days later, Qin Sheng received a report from Andilia. His Majesty the Emperor, a new model of capital ship, has been studied. As soon as Qin Sheng's spirit was lifted, he immediately asked Enviria to send him the relevant information. Soon, Qin Sheng received the information. In this information, all the existing warships of the Great Qin Empire have been greatly modified in an all-round way. It also relied on the dismantling and reproduction of some of the data from the Neutron Battlestar and the Star Battlestar to design a new capital battleship. Yongle Emperor-class integrated battlecruiser. Type, super capital ship. Length data, 12 kilometers long, 3 kilometers wide and 1.4 kilometers high. Armor system, outer armor, 800 mm primary strong interaction force reinforced alloy armor middle armor, 12,000 mm pseudo-red dragon scale reinforced alloy armor internal armor, 20,000 mm nano-regenerative reinforced alloy armor shield system, sky curtain space distortion force field shield. Weapon systems, main gun, triple Laplace heavy ship bow fast gun spear, large to kerosene light spear X-12, light Lesotron proximity laser launcher X-12064 combined curvature engine micro antimatter guidance high energy hydrogen bomb heavy fire projection platform X-2406 combined high energy antimatter annihilation missile special center fire projection platform X-12. Energy system, one source crystal conversion and energy supply reactor. Conventional antimatter conversion function reactor 12 conventional fusion curvature supply reactor 120 engine systems, 400 times the speed of light curvature engine series system 12. Qianzi 1000 light-years stable transition engine 3. Comprehensive combat strength. It has reached the level of peak civilization combat strength of the 4th level. Yongle the Great class integrated battlecruiser. This was Qin Sheng's brand new capital warship. And Qin Sheng's rest of the existing warships, the Hongwu Emperor-class defensive battlecruisers, the Hanwang-class general-purpose cruisers, the Qinhuang-class offensive cruisers, and the Wuanjuan-class heavy-pulse frigates have all undergone major changes. Among them, the main gun of the Hongwu Emperor-class defensive battlecruiser is still a live-fire weapon. However, it was changed to a heavy bow railgun heavy tackle-on light spear that fired a large-yield antimatter annihilation bomb. Medium, light tachicard, light spear. A high-energy oxygen bomb projection system was equipped with some antimatter to increase its power. There is also a space warp force field shield, all reloaded. There is also the Henkel Zhu-class aircraft carrier. Qin Sheng abandoned the existing Hangao Zhu-class aircraft carrier, instead relying on the microscopic cosmic particle three-dimensional printer as the core to build a new mothership. This brand new mothership is a spherical type. The diameter is more than 500 kilometers. It can accommodate all existing battleships as a mobile port of call, but also a protective role for the microscopic cosmic particle three-dimensional printer. Episode 75. Come when you want, go when you want, when there are public toilets here? Another 2 months passed. Qin Sheng had already overhauled all the existing warships. A large number of weapons and equipment of the fourth-level civilization have been continuously manufactured by the microscopic cosmic particle three-dimensional printer. Although relying on 3D printers to manufacture equipment is incredibly fast, however, after these weapons and equipment are manufactured, they must be installed on battleships, which still need to consume time. Therefore, it took 2 months to update and reload all the existing more than 10,000 warships. After updating the battleship with a wave of brand new weapons and energy supply systems, Qin Sheng was full of confidence, possessed the strength to directly harden the Athos Empire. For now, all of Qin Sheng's fourth-level civilization weapons and equipment, all of them have to rely on three-dimensional printer manufacturing and maintenance. There are also a large number of antimatter conversion and energy supply reactors that Qin Sheng is equipped with. All require a lot of antimatter. As for the antimatter thing, Qin Sheng is currently able to manufacture a small amount of it in the laboratory. However, a year of antimatter created not more than 1 kilogram, although the power of this antimatter is already huge enough. However, it is simply not enough. Therefore, it is still possible to rely on three-dimensional printers to produce a large amount of antimatter. To supply the energy systems of more than 183 existing 183 battleships, weapon systems are used. The mass energy conversion rate of conventional controlled nuclear fusion is only 0.4%. Less than 1%. Where did the remaining 99.6% of energy go? All dissipated, unusable. However, the energy converted by this controlled nuclear fusion with a mass energy conversion rate of 0.4% is enough to supply human beings into the cosmic star C era. And what about antimatter? The mass energy conversion rate of antimatter has reached 100%. The annihilation of a gram of antimatter colliding with a gram of positive matter bursts out in an instant, equivalent to the 40 million tons of TNT nuclear bomb explosion station. Burst of energy. This is just 1 gram of antimatter. Humans in the age of the Earth have been able to make antimatter, but they do not have the technology to store it for a long time. This shows how efficient antimatter is. However, the antimatter annihilation energy is not something that ordinary fourth-level civilizations can use. Although the average fourth-level civilization already has enough means to use the energy generated by antimatter annihilation, it's just that antimatter is too expensive. Even if it is a fourth-level civilization, it may not be able to afford it. So the energy system used by the general fourth-level civilization, it is a technology of quark fusion. The mass energy conversion rate of quark fusion is also the lowest above 5.6%. It far exceeds the minimum mass energy conversion rate of nuclear fusion of 0.4%. Qin Sheng sighed after reorganizing his fleet. It's time to get ready to go. On Baijian's side, Qin Sheng's words about this were, prepare to send a fleet to the area where other civilizations are located, and spread the glory of chaos. In this regard, Baigao naturally will not oppose it. After Qin Sheng had finished making the neutron battlestar, we'll be back. After all, there was such a being as Bai Feng who knew the knowledge of a higher civilization. Would Qin Sheng be satisfied with only shaving wool once or twice? Naturally, it was necessary to directly destroy the four-dimensional space where Bai Feng was located. In 200 years, that four-dimensional space will be destroyed. It's a pity that Baigao will die in 200 years, and then he won't be able to shed wool. Qin Sheng sighed slightly. Baigao asked Qin Sheng to help him get out. But Qin Sheng's idea was that you shouldn't think about coming out again in this life. Stay obedient until you die, even if Qin Sheng had enough strength. He also wanted to kill Bai Hua one step ahead. After all, sooner or later, Bai Zhu will die, and then he will not be able to hide the wool. It was better to be killed by Qin Sheng, so that the waste could be used and provide Qin Sheng with a large number of chaos destruction certificates. After all, Bai Gao's identity is a legitimate traitorous god-chosen demon. In addition, Qin Sheng's system now evolved into 1,000 times the increase. At that time, the number of chaos destruction vouchers that could be provided to Qin Sheng would definitely be huge. It's drooling to think about. Huge, scorching stars float silently in the space of the universe. Sparks burst out from time to time above the stars. It doesn't seem to be a big move, but according to the size of the star, the diameter and length of those sparks are also tens of kilometers. The tail of the mighty fleet spewed out inefficient propulsion flames, slowly docked in the space area 4 million kilometers away from the star. A dense space battleship surrounds a 400-kilometer diameter, spherical mothership with a core. Almost all of this area is occupied. More than 9,000 warships, all of which were updated and replaced with 4th-level civilization weapons and shield systems, were Great Qin Empire warships. Qin Sheng left behind more than 1,000 warships, left above the ring star belt particle collider to confuse Baiju. Turn on the transition engine. Make cosmic string space jumps. Target coordinate system X times Y times Z times. Coordinate distance 6,283 light years. Expect the number of space jumps 7 space jumps. In 6 months, we will reach target location 1. Open the transition channel and make the cosmic string space jump. In an instant, a blue glow appeared outside the star. More than 9,000 warships surrounded the spherical mothership with a diameter of 400 kilometers, and in an instant it turned into a white light. All entered the cosmic string transition channel, in the territory of the Athos Empire, a planetary colony. Near the stars, the sirens at the space monitoring posts in space emitted a frantic siren sound. In an instant, the garrison fleet in charge of guarding around it was alarmed. What's going on? The commander of the garrison fleet was on vacation on the planet when he received an alert, and he roared angrily. Commander! There is a fleet of strange civilizations that have jumped through the stars without our permission. It looks like our galaxy is their transit station. What? The commander of the garrison fleet was furious. Without applying beforehand, come and go when you want, when we are here in the public toilet. We, the Athos Empire, eat dry food? Even if it is a public toilet, it must be paid. Which civilization's fleet? The garrison commander asked with anger. Haven't seen the signs of their civilization, etc. The signs carved above their battleships. Qin. It's the fleet of the Great Qin Empire. A civilization wanted by the Empire. The fleet of the Great Qin Empire. Great Qin Empire? Ha 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 ha. Finally found them. It's a self-casting net. Hurry up and report to Archduke Jardon, who is going to that galaxy. Immediately open the transition channel and chase. Episode 76. Aethys Battlestar strikes out. The goal is to destroy the Great Qin Empire. The dense fleet of the Great Qin Empire was in the center of the planetary system, and the stars flew out of the transition passage in an instant. Then it re-entered the transition state in an instant. With a spherical mothership with a diameter of 400 kilometers as the core, the densely packed more than 9,000 warships surrounded by it instantly turned into a dense white light and jumped into the transition channel. They ran. Don't let them go. Great Qin Empire, let me catch them. All the garrison fleets, stay 1/10 as garrisons, and the rest, all enter the transition passage, and give me a chase after them. The many garrison fleets of the Aethys Empire immediately turned on their engines. The first is to gather near the star. Subsequently, the space wave motion probe was turned on. Find out the direction the Great Qin Empire fleet is headed. After that, all the battleships emitted a brilliant white glow. The light draws the gravitational pull of the star, and the next moment, the Azure transition channel opens. Thousands of Athos Empire garrison warships also turned into a Dao white light and entered the transition passage. Pursue the Great Qin Empire fleet. At the same time, they also sent one message after another faster than the speed of light to other galaxies and all directions in the universe. This was the second migration of the Great Qin Empire. For the first time, the Great Qin Empire fleet moved, and the transit station was an unmanned planetary system. This second migration moved directly to the territory of the Athos Empire, and most of the planetary systems with colonies usually had a large number of garrison fleets of local noble lords. And Qin Sheng's second leap directly moved more than 1,000 Aethys Empire 4th-level civilization warships to pursue him. Soon, he sailed in the string space of the jumping universe for more than 20 days, spanning a distance of 1,000 light years. The transition channel opens at the star. Densely packed, more than 9,000 warships of the Great Qin Empire surrounded the mothership and flew out of the transition passage with great momentum. It directly frightened the private fleet of the local Athos Empire nobles. The Athos Empire was not monolithic. Some of the major nobles reacted quickly, and some were slow to react. Some people are afraid of things, do not dare to participate in things, and only want to guard their own 2 or 3 planets, 1 acre and 3 points to live. And the noble lord of the galaxy that Qin Sheng had migrated to for the 3rd time was obviously the kind that was unresponsive. The fleet of the Great Qin Empire was already pressed to the face. Appeared for a moment, then moved away. The lords and nobles of the local galaxy had not yet reacted. A few days later, after waiting for the pursuit fleet of the previous galaxy to come out through the transition channel, even the fleets of the lords and nobles of the local galaxies had not yet begun to assemble. Did a fleet of other civilizations just pass through the migration channel? use this as a stopover? The commander of the fleet of the pursuing Athos Empire sent a courier inquiry to the local noble lords. What? The local noble lord was hosting a banquet when he suddenly received the message. He couldn't help but be confused. He had no idea there was such a thing. The pursuing fleet commander was furious. Nemas, that fleet has already run, and you don't know they've come? In fact, the local aristocracy was so hedonistic that it had not been paid for space monitoring posts at the stars for a long time. In this case, the equipment is not maintained, and the soldiers on duty at the outposts are not even paid. Pure grievances. Under such circumstances, how could there be information reported to the local nobles? You moths. On behalf of Archduke Jardon, I order you to assemble your fleet. Go after them with me. The commander of the pursuing fleet was furious and angrily rebuked the local noble lords. The noble lord of this galaxy panicked when he heard the name of Grand Duke of Arleton, hurriedly said, I know, I will assemble the fleet at once. The banquet of the local noble lords was also open, and after driving everyone away, he gave orders to his officers. The fleet began to assemble, but it took 4 or 5 days for the whole fleet to assemble. What is surprising is that among these warships, there are even more than a dozen ships that cannot be driven due to lack of maintenance. Absent. In total, less than 200 warships had been assembled, and a dozen more had not yet arrived. The pursuing commander of the fleet was already in a hurry, but at this moment, the most important thing was to pursue the great Qin Empire. He also didn't care to say so much, and continued to detect spatial fluctuations. To find out the direction in which the great Qin Empire fleet was headed, it was to lead a fleet of 1,200 warships and pursue them. Along the way, Qin Sheng passed through the galaxy of the Athos Empire, all of which caused the local garrison fleet to pursue. After several consecutive jumps, the number of Athos Empire warships pursuing Qin Sheng was already more than 8,000, and these 8,000 or so warships, all of which were genuine 4th-level civilization warships. When the fleet of the Great Qin Empire finally reached the vicinity of the planetary star of the migrating target, when the dense fleet emerged from the transition passage next to the star, the local soldiers on duty at the space monitoring post were stunned. What's the situation? Nearly 6 months have passed now. Qin Sheng's fleet experienced a total of 7 space jumps, spanning a distance of 6,281 light-years. Reached this distance to the target neutron star, 19 light-years from the Athos Empire planetary system. Next, Qin Sheng's fleet would sail forward using curvature. The fleet of the Great Qin Empire, at a speed that the local garrison fleet could not react to at all, instantly entered a state of curvature. Countless space curvature bubbles enveloped the battleship, and the space light shimmers and overflows with colors. In an instant, it turned into Dao light and disappeared into the universe and space. A few days later, numerous fleets of the pursuing Athos Empire reached the galaxy. They broke away from the cosmic string space channel. As soon as they came out, more than a dozen inquiries were sent out to ask the local garrison fleet. Because these fleets were all led by the nobles of the various galaxies, there was no one nominal supreme leader. They basically just got together to chase. This time, Qin Sheng did not cover up his curvature space trajectory. These trajectories were deliberately detected by the fleet of the Athos Empire. Soon, more than 1,000 garrison fleets of the local planetary system also joined the pursuit. The number of Athos Empire warships pursuing Qin Sheng was close to 10,000. They probed and cleared the curvature trajectory of Qin Sheng's fleet. It is to continue to chase away. Hub Galaxy, Star, the capital of the Athos Empire. Imperial City. It was still the highest level, suspended in the skyscrapers in the air. Here, the Grand Duke of Arleton received news from his subordinates. Grand Duke. Got it. Got it. The security Archon finally dared to return to see Archduke Jardon. He was overjoyed to report the news to Archduke Jardon. What did you find? Archduke Arthur Arton stood up with the help of a mechanical device implanted on his body, a huge, fat body like a hill. It's a wanted criminal. The Great Qin Empire has finally appeared. The security Archon said happily. Ha 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 ha. Archduke Jardon burst out laughing. Along with his laughter, the folds of skin that were loose, because of the fatness, trembled. It looked sinister and twisted. Great! I will definitely make these unscrupulous interstellar criminals pay the price. It seems that I don't need to report to the Galactic Civilization Destiny Community Council. Pass on my command. Archduke Jardon roared in anger. Order the 1st, 2nd, 4th, 7th, and Battlestar Garrison fleets, Battlestar Army groups, all out. Go on pursuit. This time, I will personally lead the fleet and take revenge on my destroyed home planet. On the orders of Archduke Jardon, the Athos Empire fleet, gathered in the hub galaxy, took action. The most massive of these was a huge battlestar with a diameter of more than 5,000 kilometers, 2 circles larger than the moon, and seemed to be all forged by Hichuan. Huge warships of the 4th-level civilization swirled around this battlestar like moths. the battleship's quark fusion engine starts. Countless gray lights flickered in space. In the depths of space, this battlestar under the command of Archduke Jardon began to move. Everywhere the battlestar, the gravitational pull emanating from its body, seems to be able to pull all the battleships and buildings around it. Make it flutter. Archduke Arleton's private fleet, a total of more than 23,000 fourth-class civilization warships, a star-rated battlestar with a diameter of more than 5,000 kilometers. Great Qin Empire, wait, I will destroy you with my own hands. Since this time, the pain in my heart will be left alone, and all will be vented on you. In the central control room of the star battlestar, Archduke Alton is fat, full of wrinkled eyelids, and his pupils are shining with a vicious light. Episode 77, Building a Neutron Battlestar. The Athos Empire fleet has arrived. This is a dark blue planet. The surface looks incomparably beautiful. There seems to be no slightest undulation, and the surface shows an absolutely smooth phenomenon. It's beautiful. It's also very small. Compared with stars with a diameter of millions of kilometers, the diameter of this planet is only about 10 kilometers. If placed next to other stars, I am afraid that people will worry that such a small planet will be swallowed up by stars if they are not careful. Even within the Great Qin Empire fleet, a warship randomly came out, and the length could be comparable to this planet. However, at this moment, the Great Qin Empire had more than 9,000 warships, and none of them dared to go near it. Because, this is a neutron star. Its small star radiates a terrifying gravitational pull in all directions. Far stronger than ordinary stars, do not know how many times. Above this neutron star, even a finger-sized area is even more massive than the entire Everest, and the terrifying gravitational pull emitted by this, as well as the all-pervasive neutrino radiation, is the reason why this neutron star cannot open the transition channel. This neutron star, which is only 10 kilometers in diameter, has a mass greater than a star with a diameter of 1,000,000 kilometers. At this moment, this neutron star is spinning at a terrifying speed of 5,000 times per minute in space. The surface glowed blue, and a large amount of neutrino pulse radiation spread from the surface of this neutron star to all directions of the universe. All the warships of the Great Qin Empire maintained a distance of 10 million kilometers from this neutron star. Andilia, Qin Sheng summoned her in the bridge of the flagship. Your Majesty the Emperor. Andilia's frosty face appeared in front of Qin Sheng. It is a virtual image. How long will it take for the pursuing fleet of the Athos Empire to arrive here? Qin Sheng asked. Your Majesty, according to our observations, the fastest pursuing fleet will be able to reach here in about half a year. As soon as Anviria waved her hand, an image appeared in front of Qin Sheng. It was a space image. It's pitch black, in the middle of endless space. There was a huge fleet shrouded in curvature bubbles, accompanied by colorful, streamering curvature rays, driving forward at great speed. Although this fleet is large, its curvature engine is not fast. No more than 25 times the speed of light. 19 light-years away, there is no jump channel. They need at least half a year to cross. The Empire of Athos, a fourth-level civilization, has a curvature engine that is only 25 times the speed of light. It's pathetic. Qin Sheng sighed slightly. A normal level 4 civilization, the curvature engine has the lowest speed, also 50 times the speed of light. However, the Athos Empire apparently did not replace the curvature engines of their warships for a long time. As a result, most of the Athos Empire warships' curvature their engines were only 25 times the speed of light. Qin Sheng already knew this when he escaped from the hub galaxy. Pass me the order to release the 3D printer. It's time to get to work and build the neutron battlestar. Qin Sheng turned off the image of the Athos Imperial fleet, and then issued the order, understand. Andilia received the order. In the middle of space, 10 million kilometers away from the neutron battlestar, the fleet of the Great Qin Empire was the core. Above the spherical mothership with a diameter of 400 kilometers, a huge, thick armored hatch opened. The microscopic cosmic particle three-dimensional printer with a diameter of up to 30 kilometers floated out of it. Floating into space. Suitable neutron stars detected. Reading neutron battlestar construction data. Technology is being allocated. We are exploring suitable construction resources in the surrounding area. The microscopic cosmic particle three-dimensional printer is 3 times the diameter of the neutron star 10 million kilometers away. The spherical three-dimensional printer is close to the neutron star. The next moment, the body of the three-dimensional printer parted from the middle. Split in half, but even split in half. Its appearance also looks natural, as if it should be the shape. A blue glow appeared on the tail of the microscopic cosmic particle three-dimensional printer that split in half. From one left to the other to the right, approaching the blood-red, ugly neutron star of the moment. It is then fixed at the left and right ends of the neutron star. At the moment, the two look like an evenly separated egg. The three-dimensional printer of microscopic cosmic particles that split in half is the egg white that is separated, and it is not completely wrapped in the neutron star as an egg yolk. Transport construction materials to the left and right ends of the 3D printer. Qin Sheng gave the order. Hundreds of giant material carriers with a length of more than 10 kilometers were activated and began to transport construction resources forward. The three-dimensional printer burst out of the visible, slightly distorted electromagnetic Then a colorless, transparent, constantly twisting shell of the star in the air was formed, wrapped itself up and the neutron star. At this moment, the terrifying gravitational force emitted by the neutron star that Qin Sheng had detected on this side disappeared. The gravitational pull of the neutron star itself is completely isolated by this twisted force field. But there is still neutrino radiation seeping out. There is no way. After all, neutrinos are the most penetrating particles in the universe. It can easily penetrate an entire planet with a diameter of tens of thousands of kilometers in 1 second. Neutrinos have the ability to penetrate space. Thus, the space warp force field can isolate gravity, but not the penetration of neutrinos. Under the action of the three-dimensional printer at both ends, under the confinement of space distortion, the neutron star is spinning up to 5,000 times a minute, and it's being forcibly stopped, which is a spectacular process. Hundreds of giant cargo carriers with a length of more than 10 kilometers have safely arrived at both ends of the three-dimensional printer. The hatch opens, throwing an average of all kinds of construction resources into space. Three-dimensional printers with half of each end of the neutron star, glowed, start receiving supplies automatically. This moment, the work began. Even for a three-dimensional printer that can build a giant ring of stars with a diameter of more than 40,000 kilometers in a matter of minutes, building a neutron battlestar is also an easy project. It takes a year to build, and Delia's delicate face was expressionless, and there was a blue stream of data flashing in her eyes. She is observing, recording the whole process of building a three-dimensional printer for microscopic cosmic particles. These records, materials, are recorded in detail. It was very useful for the Great Qin Empire. The two-lobed microscopic cosmic particle three-dimensional printer emitted a blue glow. At both ends of the neutron star, work began. This azure glow is an extremely powerful decomposition ray. If you hit an ordinary planet, it will completely decompose that planet in 1,000th of a second. However, when it shines on this neutron star, it can only be slowly decomposed. At the same time, the space distortion force field released by the microscopic cosmic particle three-dimensional printer completely isolates the gravitational pull emitted by the neutron star itself. This gravitational pull, in turn, acts on the neutron star itself. At this time, the neutron pressure of the internal neutrons could not be supported by the neutron pressure of the internal neutrons due to its own excessive gravitational influence, and it began to collapse itself. But at this moment, the space warping force field released by the microscopic cosmic particle three-dimensional printer and the particle decomposition rays began to maintain the neutron degeneracy pressure inside the neutron star. Don't let this neutron star continue to collapse. Otherwise, the neutron star will continue to collapse and will become a terrifying black hole. After maintaining neutron decommissioning pressure inside the neutron star, the microcosmic particle 3D printer continues to work. The long works went on. 3 months later, the 3D printer completely opens up the inside of the neutron star, and thousands of space warp force field maintenance machines were built internally to maintain the shape of the neutron star itself unchanged. In this way, the neutron degeneracy pressure inside the neutron star can be maintained permanently. Don't let the neutron star collapse on its own. At the same time, it also isolates the gravitational pull of the neutron star from acting internally, reaching a state of internal pressure equilibrium, to allow battleship operators to enter the interior of the neutron star for operations. After these are constructed, the 3D printer began the retrofit work. A central control room was remodeled inside the neutron star. Subsequently, antimatter energy supply reactors, fast sun, lightspeed engine. Another 3 months passed. The interior of the neutron star has been completely transformed. Tackle on faster-than-light information tandem space position system. 12 source crystal core energy supply furnaces. There are 360 antimatter energy supply reactors. The fast sun propulsion series engine has 120 seats. The systems have been manufactured and installed. Main gun, directional neutrino pulse diffusion decomposition device. It has also been installed. At this moment, the appearance of this neutron star has become completely different. The original neutron star was blood red, with a layer of fluorescent blue light on its exterior, constantly emitting neutrino pulse radiation. At this moment, the neutrino pulse of this neutron star has been completely bound. All converged on the main gun with a caliber of 800 meters, the directional neutrino pulse diffusion decomposition device here. Wait for the launch order so that it is all directed out. Now, the neutron star is basically transformed. It's time to cover it with a layer of strong interaction material armor shell. Right here, outside the galaxy, the first pursuing fleet of the Athos Empire arrived with nearly 10,000 ships. All are 4th-level civilization-level battleships, Bast, approaching this galaxy from outer space. Episode 78. Casualties are a shame compared to 1 to 100. Still looking down on me? Colleagues, the Athos Empire pursued the fleet cluster, in which one of the fleets had flagship bridges. A nobleman who was larger than the ordinary Athosites and covered with mechanical implants took a deep breath. The 4 eyes that were distributed to the left and right of the face were all closed. Open again, but only two can open. The two eyes on the right side of the face were scratched by a deep scar. This scar was caused by the electromagnetic hot melt knife of the other civilization when the Athos nobleman personally participated in the street battles of the land city on a low-level civilization planet. The nobleman did not replace it with an advanced mechanical implant, but maintained the original scarred appearance. His name was Alec Hill, and he was one of the few war-type nobles in the Athos Empire who was different from other degenerate nobles. Participated in many large-scale interstellar wars. Combat experience is very rich. Now, the wanted criminal civilization that we want, the Great Qin Empire, is within this galaxy. They seem to be building this thing, but our long-range gravitational observation system is shielded. They can't be accurately observed. But, Alec glanced forward and looked at the Athos nobles in all kinds of gorgeous costumes standing on the bridge. We are a fourth-level civilization. The fleet cluster numbered more than 10,000 warships. Although the other side also has nearly 10,000 warships, their highest combat power will not exceed the scope of the third-level civilization. In this battle, the advantage is me. Get ready to enter the galaxy ahead and attack. Alec Mountain gave the order. However, at this moment, one of the nobles, who belonged to the direct line of the Grand Duke of Yalton, stepped forward and said, "Now we cannot attack." Why? Now that the other side is in the galaxy, we can't rush through the transition channel to the curvature engine because it's too old, and the speed is not as good as the other party. Just in case they just run away like this now. This responsibility you have to bear? Alec glared at the nobleman, the 4 respiratory holes above his face opening and closing, and it was obvious that he hated the other party very much. Even then, we can't be the first to attack. The nobleman shook his head. Grand Duke Jardon ordered us to besiege this galaxy first and not let the other side escape. He'll come over himself. Then, with your own hands, perform a revenge program for your destroyed home planet. Saying this, the nobleman shouted, "Alec, do you want to disobey the orders of Archduke Jardon? Archduke Alton?" Alexand sneered and said, "I am a nobleman who is directly subordinate and loyal to the imperial family. What qualifications does Archduke Jardon have to command me? Lately, your majesty has become increasingly dissatisfied with Archduke Jarton and the other electors. I believe that it will not be long before your majesty issues a new decree to restrain you non-royal nobles who have committed wrongdoing." As soon as this remark came out, except for some nobles who belonged to the royal camp, the looks of the rest of the nobles were greatly changed. "Is this true? Your majesty is really going to attack us?" Alex smiled coldly and stopped talking. At this moment, even if he revealed this information to them, it was useless. After all, His Majesty's plan had been completed. "I don't care if you want to go out or not. Anyway, I must attack. Whether you stand idly by or attack with me, I'm sure you'll figure it out." For Alec Mountain, the Great Qin state was not important. He was now using the theme of attacking the Great Qin Empire to force these nobles to take sides. To attack the Great Qin Empire with him is to take sides in the imperial family. Standing idly by, it is to take sides with Archduke Jardon. After that, things became clear. Those who sided with Archduke Jardon were bound to be purged. This ancient power struggle, in this cosmic space, is still fresh. Because it hasn't happened in a long time. Weigh it up again, somewhere in the middle, and the wavering nobles began to take sides with the royal family. After all, the royal family had been in power in the Athos Empire for a long time, quite prestigious. However, the Grand Duke of Arleton is even more deeply rooted. More nobles did not move, and they ordered their fleet to disperse. They were ready to stand idly by, prepare to disperse the fleet and enclose the entire planetary plateau, pull around a spherical space warp band with a diameter of more than 18 trillion kilometers, or 2 light years, want to cover the entire planetary system. All warships inside the galaxy are forbidden to fly out through curvature. This naturally included Mount Alec and the fleet of some nobles belonging to the royal family. Everyone, can't go, must wait for the arrival of Archduke Jardon. The fleet of 4 civilizations, which amounted to tens of thousands, was divided into 2 parts. Some of them, about 2 or more warships, they broke away from the cluster and began to sail into the interior of the galaxy. Nearly 8,000 other Athos Empire warships turned on the curvature engine. It began to scatter in all directions of the planetary system. Begin construction of the curvature space warp isolation band. Any warship in curvature voyage, once it collides with this curvature distortion zone, will be forcibly stopped and withdraw from the curvature navigation state. This is the means of the 4th level civilization, and Alexander naturally noticed this. But he didn't care. He carries the secret weapon of the royal family. For himself, there were only 2 warships, and he had to face the 9 dry ships of the Great Qin Empire. The case of battleships, Mount Alec is even more dismissive. Who is he? A 4th level civilization, the royal family of the Athos Empire is directly subordinate to the war nobles. What about his demonic warships? It is a genuine class 4 civilization warship. powerful. Even Alexander felt that as long as he sent 100 warships, he could completely destroy the other side's 9 remaining battles. In comparison, the difference in basic science and technology between the 4th level civilization and the lower civilization is incomparably huge. The microscopic particle decomposition gravitational cannon, one of the many weapons and equipment of the 4th level civilization, alone, was enough to destroy countless lower civilizations. Lower civilizations do not have space warp force field shields. What to block? Take your own battleship and your life? Therefore, Alexander did not care. Your Majesty, the fleet of Athos has moved, and they have divided into 2 branches. A warship of about 2 or more ships is approaching us, and there are still 8 trillion kilometers away. The other one is light years away, about 8 battleships, and they seem to be scattered around the entire planetary system. Qin Sheng immediately received a report from Ella, who was the chief officer of the battle. Oh? Divided into 2 branches? Is this preparation with 2 hands? Qin Sheng touched his chin and said with great interest. Although the shell of the neutron battlestar has not yet been installed, it has initially possessed combat capabilities, and the main gun can be fired. Will it allow the neutron battlestar to enter the battle? Constantly observing, Thea I, who recorded the construction of the neutron battlestar, did not turn her eyes, but continued to flash the data stream, staring at the construction process of the neutron battlestar, and said without looking back, no, using the main cannon of the neutron battlestar to strike 2 Class 4 class civilization warships on the opposite side is tantamount to a cannon hitting a mosquito. The target of the neutron battlestar cannon is the opposing planetary battlestar, or the planet, the star. Another point is that the energy drive of neutron battlestar requires a large number of anti-objects. Although there was enough antimatter produced by Qin Sheng relying on 3-dimensional printers, it was able to make more than 9,000 warships open for use now. If you drive a neutron battlestar, these large antimatter stores are not enough for the battlestar main gun to fire a few shots. Now that the 3-dimensional printer is making neutron battlestars, it is impossible to distract from creating anti-objects, and can only send out more antimatter energy-saving warships. However, although Qin Sheng's current antimatter reserves are not enough for the neutron battlestar to fire a few more cannons, this is because the energy consumption of the neutron battlestar is really terrifying. According to the existing antimatter reserves, if Qin Sheng's more than 9,000 warships were allowed to sail at curvature, that could at least supply Qin Sheng's fleet with continuous curvature for a dry year. Under Qin Sheng's orders, the Great Qin Empire also sent 2 warships to meet the enemy. Of these 2 battleships, a total of 200 were equipped with the Laplace Heavy Fast-Speed Light Spear as the main gun of the Yongle the Great class integrated battlecruiser. 400 main guns have been converted to the Hongwu Emperor of the Antimatter Annihilation Railgun class defense battlecruiser. The remaining 1,400 warships are all ordinary Han Wang equipped with ordinary weapons such as conventional heavy tackle-on light spears, antimatter-guided high-energy curvature missile launch platforms, etc. The Qin Wang class cruiser, the Wu and Jun heavy frigate, was gone. The fleet movement on the side of the Great Qin Empire was naturally also observed by the Alec Mountain of the Athos Empire. He was stunned. Send only 2 warships? Comparable to their number? Suddenly, endless anger surged into his heart. In his opinion, he hit the other side by himself, relying on the strength of his own brand 4th level civilization technology level battleship. Even if you play a 1:100 casualty ratio, it is a shame. And now, the opposite side did not go all out to fight with him, and even divided the troops? This is clearly looking down on him. Damn things, I'm going to crush them all. Alec roared in anger and gave the order to attack. Episode 79, Shock. What kind of weapon can instantly cross hundreds of billions of kilometers? The Empire of Athos was mighty, and more than 2,000 warships began to spread in space. Keep moving forward. The distance between the 2 sides is decreasing. Soon less than 100 billion kilometers of distance remained. 100 billion kilometers, equivalent to 671 distances between the Earth and the Sun. But the fleet of the Athos Empire had begun to change its formation and was about to attack. Ready for the first wave of attack. Fight for a wave of offense and solve them. Alexander sneered. The scientific and technological gap between the 4th level civilization and the 3rd level civilization can be described as a world of difference. The Great Qin Empire opposite undoubtedly had combat strength compared to the 3rd level civilization, but the Athos were a legitimate 4th level civilization. The 2 sides went to war, and the fleet of the Athos Empire was enough to attack from 100 billion kilometers away. Give the Great Qin Empire a super battlefield sight distance strike. Under such circumstances, Alec Mountain had already imagined how the people of the Great Qin Empire should panic. After all, they were facing the genuine 4th level civilization, the Athos Empire. How dare the Great Qin Empire make enemies of them? It's not self-sufficient. Fast sunlight spear charge ready. Antimatter high-energy hydrogen bomb preparation. Freely choose their goals and let them feel the deepest despair. Alec Mountain gave the order. The Tachispeak spear, a laser strike weapon that exceeds the speed of light. Only the super laser pulse weapon of the fast sunlight spear can continuously fly across large distances and maintain most of its power without decay. Among the fleet of the Athos Empire, there were not a few warships equipped with the fast sunlight spear weapon system. In Alec's view, his fleet only needs to launch a wave of strikes beyond the visual range, and the enemy may be completely destroyed. In space, more than 2,000 warships of the Athos Empire were distributed in a vast vacuum. Each battleship was at least 2,000 kilometers apart. It occupies a battle line of at least 1,000,000 kilometers in length. At this moment, the dark space shone brightly. Hundreds of spears of light flashed up. The densely packed tachyon spear of light instantly penetrated this cosmic space region. Hundreds of high-energy hydrogen bombs, loaded with some antimatter on the explosive warhead, broke away from the silo above the battleship, entered a state of curvature in space. Hundreds of streamers of curvature flashed, instantly advancing tens of millions of kilometers. The two eyes on the left side of Mount Alec's intact eyes squinted slightly, and one of them flashed a fierce light. In Alec's view, it was they who launched the attack first. However, it is not, because at this moment, just when they had just launched their attack, the firepower from the Great Qin Empire fleet had already crossed a distance of 100 billion kilometers and reached their front. The light of hundreds of fast light spears flashed in the space of the universe in an instant. It was as if it suddenly appeared out of thin air and was placed across the space region. A narrow column of light that was hundreds of billions of kilometers long directly hit hundreds of warships of the Athos Empire. In the face of such an attack, even the space warp force field shield covering the surface of the Athos Empire battleship failed to react. Instantly pierced, the armor of the battleship made of advanced basic material science, which the fourth-class civilization of the Athos Empire prides itself on, melted in an instant. Hundreds of Athos Empire warships were directly penetrated at the ends. In the middle of space, an incomparably brilliant explosion of light was produced. What? Alec was slightly stunned. The incident was sudden. He could only see that the signal representing his own battleship had suddenly disappeared. Before he could react at all, he was attacked by the Great Qin Empire fleet. What's going on? Alec asked hurriedly. Unbelievable. Your Honor. It was the firepower strike of the Great Qin Empire. Their weapons attack faster than ours. But there were still fire control personnel, and the observers reported in amazement. What? It's impossible. Alec turned his head violently and shouted angrily. What rank of the Great Qin Empire? What rank did they have in the Athos Empire? How could the Great Qin Empire's fleet firepower strike faster than theirs? That's a distance of 100 billion kilometers. Moreover, the hundreds of Athos Empire warships that had just lost their signals were all equipped with space warp force field shields. With a combat power equivalent to that of a third-level civilized weapon, even if they stand here and let them fight for 100 years, it is impossible to break through the defense. How could they destroy hundreds of their warships in an instant? This is absolutely impossible. Alec Hill simply did not want to believe this fact. What about our firepower strikes? Where's it going? Alexan asked. At this moment, the round of firepower that the Athos Empire had just launched was still on the way across 100 billion kilometers. The first wave of tachy-speak spear strikes, expected to attack after 3,000 seconds to predict the position of the enemy. Hearing the answer, Alec's face was on the face, and the 4-point respiratory tract tightened. Even the breathing was freezing. Damn, their fastest weapon, the fast bullet spear, still takes less than an hour to cross a distance of 100 billion kilometers, and the weapons of the Great Qin Empire can cross this distance in an instant. This is something that Alec Mountain would not want to believe under any circumstances, but that's the way it is. The next moment, Mount Alec's ears once again heard the terrified cries of his subordinates. Your Honor. Detected the fast sun high-energy reaction in the vacuum. It is the enemy's fast spear of light, and the enemy's second wave of fire strikes has been. Before he could finish speaking, suddenly an incomparably harsh alarm sounded. The entire battleship shook violently. In space, Mount Alec's flagship was hit directly by a beam of light from the end. The high-intensity space warp force field failed to block every minute of this fast sunlight spear. Instead, it was like being beaten by a cow from another mountain. The lower side of the hull is instantly penetrated. Counting the good fortune of this flagship, it just sideways over the hull. It is not directly penetrated by both ends. Instead, it was hit on the side below the hull. The battleship's material storage area is penetrated. All the armor in the area, the structure has been damaged. The roar of the technical inspectors rang out. Alexander immediately decided and shouted, "Turn on the partition system. Abandon the damaged area immediately." In space, the Alec Mountain flagship began to disintegrate. The area hit by the Great Qin Empire's quasi-light spear was abandoned, and the mutilated hull of the ship, which was about a kilometer long, separated from the battleship. In the midst of this part of the mutilated ship, hundreds of Athos soldiers screamed in horror and were thrown into a vacuum. But they didn't die, and the full coverage power armor they were equipped with could protect them from surviving in the vacuum for a long time. When the battleship separated a part of the gap, the twisting force field that isolated the vacuum was immediately raised. Protect the interior of the battleship. The Athos soldiers who had been thrown into space also flew quickly into the twisted force field and successfully entered the interior of the battleship. As long as it is a normal civilization, The construction of space battleships is usually modular. In this way, even if part of the hull suffers losses, it can be discarded to prevent the damage from expanding. Alec was decisive, and the order just given was right. The last soldier to be thrown into a vacuum, dressed in gray full-coverage power armor, successfully entered the twisted position driven by the power of the jetpack on his back, entered the interior of the battleship. Under the gray-covered mask, the Athos soldier gasped for breath through the 4-point breathing hole in his face. Safe. He thought so. Hundreds of terrified Athos soldiers either knelt on their knees or sat on their backs on the ground, although they knew that the full coverage power armor on their bodies would protect them and prevent them from dying in space. But the process of being forcefully thrown out of the battleship still scared them. Bang! With a loud noise, one of the Athos soldiers slammed his fist into the ground of the high-strength alloy and angrily said, "How can those low-level civilization mud objects attack so quickly?" Mud was a contemptuous term used by the Athos Empire for other lower civilizational creatures. In their view, all the lower civilizations are bitter things mixed on the surface of the planet. Hence the name. Damn it. When it's time for us to play, I must personally kill 200 of them to vent my anger. 200 people is not enough. At least 2,000. On the gray, full-coverage armor of the other Athos soldiers, four glowing red electronic eyes flickered. They were no joke. At the level of technological proficiency of the 4th-level civilization of the Athos Empire, it was enough to let it slaughter thousands of soldiers of the 3rd-level civilization with its powerful 4th-level individual soldier power armor. Just when all the members of the flagship, including Alec Hill and the soldiers, breathed a sigh of relief and thought they were out of the danger they had just been in, they reacted with hindsight and found something. Hundreds of Athos soldiers stood at the gap in the hull of the ship that had abandoned part of the hull, and the portal hole was exposed in space, looking in shock at the space area isolated outside the distorting force field. His eyes widened and his airway contracted rapidly. I was so shocked that I couldn't say anything about it. They could see outer space, wherever they could see. It's all a fleet of warships, painted with the mark of the Athos Empire. It has become a field of space wreckage ruins. Inside the bridge, Alec Mountain could not speak at all, and looked at the signal reaction map of his battleship in extreme shock. Except for his flagship, none of them survived. It turned out that the fast sun's high-energy reaction just now was aimed at all the remaining 1,900 or so battleships. At this moment, more than 2,000 warships, almost all wiped out, promoted to his flagship of good luck, survived in a large wreckage. Episode 80. The people of the Great Qin Empire must have all been killed. Alec stared at the remaining two eyes, his airways tight and almost suffocating. Unbelievable. Whole. All gone. How can it be? What happened? What just happened? Your Honor, just recorded in the external optical observation system. A technician immediately shouted, "Tune the picture to me." Alec Mountain shouted angrily. A virtual picture immediately appeared in front of Mount Alec. It is a picture saved by the optical detection system on the outside of the flagship. Only the fleet on the right side of the flagship can be seen. At first, the battleships, including the flagship itself, were intact. But with a violent jolt in the frame, Alexander understands that this is when the flagship has just been hit, and they are forced to abandon part of the hit hull. Then, in the next moment, in the midst of the violent shaking, the nearly 1,000 warships on the right side of the flagship, spread over an area of nearly 1 million kilometers, were all hit by the precision of the fast sun light spear. It is the fast sun light spear of the Great Qin Empire. Just at that moment, the fleet of the Great Qin Empire spanned hundreds of billions of kilometers of ultra-long distance, after using the fast Takaron light spear, precise point firing strike. Within 10 seconds, nearly 1,000 warships of the Athos Empire on the right side of the picture were spared. It's like being named one by one. The distorted space force field is directly ignored by the enemy's fast sun light spear, which penetrates the hull and then melts and explodes. The flames of the explosion flashed in space. There is no condition for the flame to continue to burn in the vacuum, but it is this fleeting fire that looks extremely spectacular and dazzling. If this is not the warship of the Athos Empire, it is naturally pleasing and spectacular. But there is no if. Even if you can't see the picture on the left side of the flagship, Alec Mountain can understand. The number of warships in other directions is much smaller than that of the fleet on the right. It is certainly the end of the overthrow. Alec couldn't figure it out. Can't figure it out at all. Even if the Great Qin Empire is powerful, it is analyzed according to the previous combat performance. Its combat power is only equivalent to the level of a 3rd-level civilization. How could a 3rd-level civilization have such a fast and powerful fast light spear? And, hundreds of billions of kilometers away, even with the most advanced Takaron light spear weapons currently in use by their Athos Empire, the speed at which they connected the vacuum Takarons in series was no more than 100 times the speed of light. Hundreds of billions of kilometers, it takes nearly 3,000 seconds to cross. What is the level of skill of the fast light spear used by the Great Qin Empire? Why can it span hundreds of billions of kilometers in an instant? or even hundreds of channels? And incredibly fast, precision strikes? Alec Mountain couldn't figure it out, and he couldn't think straight after racking his brains. As a result, his brain ached, and only 2 intact eyes were bloodshot and full of blue blood. And the Great Qin Empire had just crossed hundreds of billions of kilometers using the fast light spear. Naturally, it is the main gun of the Yongle the Great class integrated battlecruiser, Laplace Heavy Fast Bullet Light Spear. The principle is that it is able to connect all the tachyons in the real three-dimensional universe and the void lesbian universe in the orbit of their directional target in a split second, synchronizing parallel directions. Embodiment of these tachyons into a real three-dimensional universe. Between the muzzle and the target, ignoring the limitations of distance, speed, etc., a powerful tachyon light spear is instantly connected. The Laplace Heavy Fast Gun Light Spear can ignore the space warp force field, because its tandem tachyons are in another layer of the tachyon universe. This weapon technology is an important technology above the neutron battlestar for the 4th level peak civilization, and has reached the level of quasi-5th level civilization technology. It's terrifying. Of course, the Laplace Heavy Fast Gun Light Spear also has 2 drawbacks. First, the range is limited. The effective range of the Laplace Heavy Tachyon Light Spear is only 2.5 light-years. Light-years away, even if the enemy's distance is 1 kilometer more, the Laplace Heavy Fast Bullet Light Spear cannot be attacked. But in other words, as long as the enemy is within 2.5 light-years, as long as the Laplace Heavy Tachyon Light Spear in the shooting boundary can instantly connect the tachyon cosmic vacuum fixitrons in the attack orbit, thus achieving the effect of attacking the target instantaneously within a range of 2.5 light-years, regardless of the distance between the 2 sides. And the second drawback, it's just a matter of shooting in a directional manner. The forward track is infinitely close to a straight line. After shooting, it is impossible to change the direction of fire, let alone like other laser pulse weapons, which can directly sweep across an area of the fan area of the enemy. Unfortunately, regarding the technical content of the Laplace Heavy Fast Speed Light Spear used by the Great Qin Empire, Alec Mountain could never know, because the next wave of attacks from the Great Qin Empire fleet had arrived. 200 fast spears of light spanning hundreds of billions of kilometers penetrated the flagship of Mount Alec in an instant. This time, he could not use the method of abandoning the damaged hull area manger to protect himself. In the midst of endless reluctance, doubt, and anger, the Alec Mountains and more than 60% of the entire 12-kilometer-long flagship vaporized in an instant. The remaining 30% or so of the area was only wreckage, floating in space. The royal faction fleet of Aethys, all destroyed. Ding dong. Congratulations on destroying the 4th level civilization, the battleship of the Aethys Empire, and gaining a technical value of 100,000. Ding dong. Congratulations on destroying the 4th level civilization, the warship of the Athos Empire, and gaining a technical value of 120,000. Ding dong. Congratulations on getting 240 million technical values. 1,000 times increase. Ding dong. Congratulations on getting 240 billion technical points. You have successfully killed the Chaos Evil God and the treacherous believer in the 4th level civilization and obtained the Chaos Destruction Certificate. 10,000. You successfully killed the Chaos Evil God and the treacherous believer in the 4th level civilization and obtained the Chaos Destruction Certificate. 9,000. Congratulations on obtaining the Chaos Destruction Voucher. 3.71 million. 1,000 times increase. Congratulations on obtaining the Chaos Destruction Voucher. 3.71 billion. Congratulations on having acquired the 4th level elementary civilization technology, quark fusion reactor technology. 1,000 times increase. Congratulations on obtaining the technical data of the 4th level peak civilization technology, antimatter energy supply reactor. Congratulations on having obtained the 4th grade elementary civilization technique, the light lesotron light spear. 1,000 times increase. Congratulations on your acquisition of the 4th level peak civilization technology, the Laplace Heavy Fast Duty Tachyon Light Spear. This time it was very rewarding. Qin Sheng bowed his head slightly, and there was a little joy in his heart. He now has a reserve of 2,437 billion technical values. The various level 4 peak civilization technologies previously equipped on the battleship did not consume technical points, because it is made directly using a microscopic cosmic particle 3-dimensional printer. So there is no technical value consumed. And Qin Sheng also had some troubles. That is, most of the technology obtained this time has been increased by 1,000 times. The technology obtained, Qin Sheng already possessed. Because most of the technology of the 4th level peak civilization is in the data of the neutron battlestar. It's just that the scientific research level of the Great Qin Empire is simply incomprehensible. It can only be manufactured through the microscopic cosmic particle 3-dimensional printer and then equipped to use on battleships. One of the advantages of equipment manufactured from 3D printers is that they do not consume technical points. But the disadvantage is that once Qin Sheng loses the 3-dimensional printer, it is really 2 eyes and 1 black, facing these technologies that he can't understand at all. directly blind. Otherwise, Qin Sheng could only consume and use a huge amount of technical value to manufacture. This is not the way. Now the technical value looks a lot. The two kings are reminiscent. However, the gap between the technological level of the Great Qin Empire and the technological level of the fourth-level peak civilization was really too big. The technical value consumed will also increase exponentially. The technical value of more than 200 billion yuan may seem like a lot, but if it is really used, it may not be enough at all. In the final analysis, the basic level of science and technology of the Great Qin Empire was too low. We must upgrade the level of basic science and technology. After seeing that he had actually obtained some chaos destruction certificates, Qin Sheng was a little surprised. But although this matter is unexpected, it is also reasonable. Qin Sheng could only sigh. True Nyama, a believer in the evil god treacherous Qi, is omnipresent, and he can even kill the treacherous believers by destroying the warships of the enemy civilization. Let's first look at the newly acquired technology, whether there is anything I don't have now, and I can use it for the time being. Qin Sheng began to carefully look for the system prompts of the blockbuster just now. This search really allowed him to find a hint that he ignored. Ding dong, congratulations on obtaining the fourth level of primary civilization technology, the primary tackle-on communication technology. 1,000 times increase. Congratulations on having obtained the fourth level peak civilization technology, Battleship Tacurrent Communication Series System, Fast Agent Communication Series Technology. With this faster-than-light communication technology, we can connect our units within a certain range. As long as it is in the series system, it can achieve delay-free communication no matter how far apart. This is equivalent to a simplified version of the Neutron Battlestar Terrestrial faster-than-light information tandem space position system technology. This technique can be used for a single battleship, rather than being limited to neutron battlestars. This is good. Qin Sheng rejoiced. From this moment on, his fleet finally broke through the communication limit of the speed of light, have the means of true faster-than-light communication. But there is also a certain limitation, that is, the construction of communication base stations in battleships or space, combined into a fast electron series communication position, in order to achieve faster-than-light speed delay-free communication in this area. But that's nothing. The exterior of the Neutron planetary system, nearly 8,000 Athos Empire warships are still constructing curvature travel block bands that enclose the entire galaxy. They didn't observe the war inside the planetary system. To tell the truth, even if they were observing at the moment, they couldn't see it. Because the battlefield of the Great Qin Empire fleet and the fleet of Mount Alec was at least 5 trillion kilometers apart from their current distance, half a light year old. The spread of battle scenes. It was the speed of light, and they wanted to observe it, at least until the battle scene was completely transmitted. It was more than half a year before the battle scene over there could be observed. This is passive observation, the law of propagation of the universe itself, and has nothing to do with whether they have faster-than-light technology. If they know the situation in advance, we had to take the initiative to send faster-than-light warships to investigate, or take the initiative to contact Mount Alec using faster-than-light to Kiraton communication, or use some kind of higher Lesotron universe to span a distance of 5 trillion kilometers, and directly ignore the rules of the speed of light propagation of the battle scene ahead. But it was clear that the remaining Athosian nobles did not want to do both. In the latter case, the current Athos Empire did not have such technology. Therefore, these people have no idea that the Alec Mountain fleet has been completely destroyed. Even, they were chatting with each other. Mount Alec has gone to attack the Great Qin Empire. Hey, it's miserable to get down to Mount Alec. Yes, he did not wait for the Grand Duke to arrive, and then he attacked the people of the Great Qin Empire without permission. The people of the Great Qin Empire are dead, but Mount Alec is also dead. When Archduke Jardon arrives, Mount Alec and the nobles of the royal faction will have to die. Ha ha ha, royal faction, now it is obvious that our Grand Duke is stronger, and Alexander still wants to threaten us in the name of the Emperor? Ridiculous. What they talked about between them was nothing more than the fate of Alec Mountain. As for the Great Qin Empire, none of them cared. Although they had already given Alec Mountain the death penalty, they did not think that the people of the Great Qin Empire would survive until Grand Duke Yalton came. Must have been killed all of Alec.